We are coming into prime short-term rental season in the Lowcountry of South Carolina, and today we're going to explore the top 3 questions that we get from sellers and buyers related to rental property and how we get real estate done during that time. So let's get after it. Hey guys, we are excited because we are just into the short-term rental season here in the Hilton Head Bluffton area. And we're excited about talking about the 3 big questions that we typically get both from owners and potential buyers about how we manage real estate during that rental season. But first, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you because we had a busy April. And so how we kind of go through the stats about what happened in the marketplace through April?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at April of this year versus April of last year, we have been busy. Pending sales up about 12%. Closed sales up about 12% when compared to about April 2025. New listings hitting the market that's kind of held about flat, up just almost 1%, but not much. Overall listing inventory is actually down just a little bit. So with the increase in sales activity and maybe less action hitting the market, that has translated into a lower monthly housing supply. So we've been tracking that. And we're staying in that balanced market. We're now around about 4.6%. Average and median sale prices are still up just a little bit. And that sale price to list price ratio, that's still hovering around 97%. So that's a pretty solid, consistent number that we've seen over and over again.
Yeah, it's kind of settled out right around there. Again, pre-COVID or during COVID, over 100%, but it kind of hanging out around that 97. It's inched down there.
Yeah.
The one I think I want to add to that is days on market. It's pretty much doubled on average from where it was this time last year. So we're seeing some of the inventory taking a longer period of time to go under.
But fortunately, it's going under contract.
It's going under contract.
And then it hits that stat.
More sales happening.
There you go.
So we want to get into kind of the 3 main things that we're seeing that people are always asking us, like, okay, it's during rental season. Like, you got all these great visitors that are coming in town. They're occupying all these great properties. Some of them are on the market. How do we navigate that process? So that's really the first one is, how do you sell real estate during the rental season?
Sure.
Where you effectively are getting people, like, you've got conflict. You got renters in these properties.
Yeah.
But somehow we got to make it so that we can still move real estate. What's the first thing that comes to mind from that perspective?
Buyers and sellers both have to navigate this because sellers want buyers to see it and buyers want to see it. So how do you see it when they're rental occupants in the unit?
You're right. And knowing that, by the way, renters get top priority. I mean, when you're paying to rent a place and enjoy it, you don't get to get bumped out just because the property's on the market. So that's the first thing we always point out to property owners is there is a pathway on this and you can achieve both and make sure you're respecting everybody involved.
You can. And then we also have what we call the turn. We've spoken about that before, but that is when the folks check out and the new folks are coming in. That's a chaotic time sometimes because you're navigating maybe a 3-4 hour window, but you're also introducing the cleaning folks, they're checking on the property, the manager's checking on the property, that sort of thing. So it's a very compressed time, but if it's structured correctly, we can cycle a good number of renters through a villa or a house.
And the thing is, that little tight window, we got to get a lot done because if you are a buyer of a potential rental property and you want to see that property because it just came on the market, you're probably relying on your agent to do a FaceTime video during the turn.
Sure.
Or if you're going to be in town or you're currently in town, you might need to extend your stay until the renters leave. And maybe, praise God, you could see it after the cleaners have been there. So it actually shows its best. You might have to stay in town in order to be able to make that actualize as well.
And then there's a couple cool things that I have seen others do that our clients have done too, but maybe offer the renter a gift card. Hey, we'll take you out to lunch. If you got a real serious interest in a property and you really want to go see it and it's rented, consider a little incentive for the renter to allow you to do so. And or you could also do, if you're real serious on a certain property, but it's rented, heck, submit an offer with a viewing contingency.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you cut through the chase.
And if it's a hot property and you can't get by with that, then rely on great photos, a great virtual tour, maybe a great video, your familiarity with the property and area already, maybe trust your buyer agent to say, this is what you got to go after. But that's kind of how we navigate that. And so the next step is, let's say that you were actually able to see it and you go to contract, but now it's rental season. Let's talk about the second one, which is how do you close real estate and even transfer rentals on a piece of rental property during the rental season? Because man, it's like you said, it's just busy. Everything's hopping all the time. So the first step is, how do you manage closings? If it's rental season, how does that happen?
Well, it's good to know that if you've got a rental on the books, the seller is going to receive the rental income while they own it. And the buyer is going to receive the rental income once they own it. So if the rental turns in the middle of that, then it's prorated at closing. So it's kind of divided up equally. If there are deposits that are on file or stuff, that's all got to be taken care of. You know, one thing that's really important for sellers and buyers to understand is in a rental property, there's the South Carolina Vacation Rental Act, which basically protects the renter. And it's important because if a renter is relying on a booked rental for their vacation and it sells, what's going to happen to them? So the South Carolina Vacation Rental Act just says that those rentals need to be honored for 90 days after the recording is completed, after the closing and the recording. There are ways that managers and folks can talk to folks that have rental property within that 90 days and maybe offer a different property or things like that. So there's a lot of things to navigate, but the law says you need to honor them for 90 days.
Man, I'll tell you what, that law, which has been around a long time, really took a lot of pressure off of closings of rental properties, because not only does it protect those renters that have those future bookings, it protects the property manager, so all of a sudden they're not having to scramble, and it protects the property owner who in good faith was putting those bookings into place. So I really like that law, and it really provides a lot of easier transition at the time of closing. So both buyers and sellers, I think, find that one to be a winner.
Let me add something real quick though, because it's easy when you've got a property that's managed by a professional rental manager and the buyer's going to adopt that rental manager and they just continue the rental flow. It gets a little trickier when you have an Airbnb or a VRBO or it's self-managed, that sort of thing, because in some situations, that can't just be transferred over. Basically, the buyer will have to open up their own account. The seller is going to have to close out their account. There's going to have to be a meeting of minds and coordinating with the rentals, and they're going to have to get shifted around. And so that's something to just plan for and not let that be a surprise.
I love that because, you know, buyers and sellers who so often, I mean, a lot of times they're never in communication with each other, but in those situations, they've got to come together and say, for the benefit of making this smooth transition, for the benefit of these renters who've already had these bookings, we got to figure this thing out. And they always do, sometime with a little bit of guide and an organization. So the last question is, hey, you know, it's a rental property. Now I own it. What are some of the best ways to be creative in terms of generating a financial benefit, rental income off of this property moving forward? And starting with, obviously, we've been talking about short-term rentals. You know, like it's a property you want to use as a second home. People come here throughout the calendar year. They really love being in this market area. They're going to spend money to rent a property. So that's a really viable way to do it. How do you maximize that? And that's my first point on that is just make sure that if it's really important that you're maximizing your rental income, that you're maximizing your calendar of availability of when people can come. You know, some people say, I want to use it a lot, or I want to use it during the all summer long, and then I'll rent it in the shoulder seasons. Great, but you might not be maximizing your rental income. So if you're really interested in that, making sure that you really open it up that whole calendar year so that maybe you can maximize those opportunities that aren't just right in the summer season.
Yeah, and we see more snowbird or longer term rentals, the demand for that in the wintertime. Maybe in the transition months into like the
January, February, March. We see that a lot.
And it's beautiful down here. So I can see why someone would want to come and spend their winter down here.
Yeah. And the other one kind of related to that is, so opening it up to you are open to a snowbird rental. Another one that we've seen some people have a lot of successes, and of course do it with caution, is if you make your property pet friendly. We're seeing that people love traveling with their pets. And so opening up that opportunity, right, is like you had some of that situation recently where that was really beneficial to you. So I think that opening that up makes a lot of sense. So what's the next one on that?
Well, here's a cool thing, and I've looked at this myself. I mean, house swaps. I mean, that's neat. There's other companies that do this. We don't actually engage in house swaps, but that's a possibility where you can put your house in a program where if you've got a second home, a rental property, that sort of thing, you can open it up for other people around the world. And then maybe you want to go to New Zealand or something like that, and there's somebody participating in the program, so you can kind of go back and forth. So that's a really cool thing that not a lot of folks think about.
Super creative on that. And another way to kind of maximize time at the property, if you're not just finding that, typical standard renter, is thinking about making donation of time at the property. So if you're maybe pick some shoulder season or off season time and you say, listen, I'm going to donate a week of my property use to a charitable organization. A lot of times you guys, we've probably all been to dinners and that sort of thing where there's fundraisers like we're auctioning off a week at this property in Hilton Head. It tends to get a lot of attention, and you can talk to your CPA as to whether or not there might be some tax benefits to something like that.
Sure. And since we're talking about just maximizing rental potential, to me personally, and this goes really without saying, but the thing to focus on, how do you maximize and just make sure you have great reviews? And I think great reviews happen because you are engaging, or your rental manager is engaging with the client. You're exceeding expectations. Cleanliness is extraordinarily important. Doing things, having things ready for them, and maybe a little bit over and beyond the call of duty, and then asking for feedback, asking for reviews, what could we do better, that sort of thing, and getting those 5-star reviews out there, because that is your marketing tool for a rental.
Yeah, and people rely on that.
They
we all rely
really
on
do.
reviews, right, etc. Some other avenues, just in terms of sort of eking value out, is allowing friends and coworkers and family to use it. Maybe they rent the property from you. That's another avenue for finding some way to get more occupancy on the property.
Maybe not financial gain there, but you'll be the favorite of the family.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. They're going to love that. They're going to love you. And also, you made this point earlier, is like being thoughtful about your positioning in terms of the value offering. If you're monitoring the rental season or the rental year as it's evolving, and maybe you just want to try to eke out a little bit more rental income, being thoughtful about dynamic pricing. Maybe you've put something out there for the fall season and it's not really getting picked up on. And you're thinking, I'd really like to get some rental weeks in the fall. Well, maybe think about adjusting the pricing so it's a lot more compelling and attractive.
Yeah, airlines do it.
Yeah, might as well do it on your rental property. So guys, that's kind of the way we see about maximizing rental income on your property, just income overall and value. And I want to let you guys know that we do have a short-term rental and long-term rental pro forma analysis worksheet. So basically we plug this in where you can fill in the fields like, hey, I'm buying this property at this price, I'm putting down this much money, and my projection is to rent it at such and such a rate for so many weeks. This is what the POA fees are, this is what the regime fees are, this is what a cleaning cost is, this is what I'm budgeting for expenses during the course of the year. And it'll kind of run out and say, okay, this is kind of what we think the rental the rental financial pro forma looks like. So if you're interested in that, guys, hit us up, let us know. We'd love to send that to you. As always, we're just grateful for your time, your attention, your interest in what we have to share, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys soon.